What's up, everyone? It's Bones here. Picture a world where Killer Toon's new support has been out for about 2 months, and we're staring down at Chaos Origins and the new overframes, which are seemingly set up to enter a weaker format around the corner of a potential banlist season. That would potentially be 2 ban lists before this, I would like to reiterate. Now that we're there, I aim to challenge the perspective of how we look at Pendulum cards and what the mechanic could become down the line so that it could play better into the modern style of game. Originally, I looked at the new Odd Eyes and Astrograph and figured that these were actually decent Pendulum cards that I wanted to try and build around, but the Odd Eyes lines conflicted with Beyond the Pendulum, which made things a little bit more complicated. Its restriction can also be really rough for any deck, as playing it can hurt and maybe even potentially end your turn if you aren't able to safely pen summon beyond it. I looked online and saw that the way people were playing this stuff was with Pendulum Magician, but I felt that this video wouldn't be worthwhile if it was playing like a dated Pendulum deck. When committing to Wisdom Eye or even Majesty's Draco Slayer, it requires you to commit multiple cards onto the field to activate and resolve anything, not even just pen summon. Being choked at the point of pen summoning is one thing, but in today's game I felt it was unsustainable if there would be times going second knowing that I had to place 2 cards on the field to activate something. There were also the Pen Magician bricks, which felt like worse bricks, and that's not to say that I don't play a few bricks in this build. I managed to mitigate them and the kind of bricks that they were. The more that I tested this deck, the more that I became surprised with how everything kind of bridged to something else within each other, and even had built-in solutions to things like Nibiru, even if the Nibiru game plan wasn't perfect. The idea is that if you start doing your Rokket stuff first, it's really easy to get your scales, so you can pen summon or at least end on a minimal board alongside of a floodgate. The deck also has not perfect, but built-in ways to play around certain cards like Ripper, or more common hand traps, as your opponent could see you start with the Rokket line before anything else happens. The first combo will show the ideas, the other two will answer some questions that you might have. So with all of that out of the way, I'll get the show started because this is about to be a wild one. And we're going to start here with the quick launch, any spell and trap that we can set alongside the Joker, and the Joker and our quick launch are going to end up being our 2 searchers for our new 2 Pendulum cards, as we're going to get ourselves the Odd Eyes Heavenly Dragon. I'm not going to bother reading these because they're just way too long, and we're going to continue here by then going into our Striker Dragon. We're going to use the effect of Striker Dragon in order to get ourselves the copy of Boot Sector Launch. This is one of the few real bricks, but we're then going to use the effect of Striker Dragon to get back our copy of Loader. We can then normal summon the Joker, use the effect of Joker here, as we'll then get ourselves the copy of the new Astrograph. We'll then be able to activate the copy of the Odd Eyes, use its effect, and then we're going to be able to get ourselves the Monkey board and trigger the copy of the Astrograph in hand, since the effect triggers the minute that the Odd Eyes is destroyed, so you're not really locked into its effect after it happens. But we're now going to special summon out the Astrograph. We can then special summon out the copy of the Astrograph with its effect, as we'll then be able to activate the copy of Monkey board. Monkey board will then get us into the copy of Rainbow, and this is why we need that extra spell trap that we can set. We're going to set that, and then we're going to activate the Rainbow. We'll then be able to go into our Masquerena, and Masquerena is just here for a good time, not a long time, as we're going to be able to pen summon now, bring back our Astro alongside the Odd Eyes, and now we're going to use the effect of Astro to fuse away into our copy of the Fatal Flare, and then we'll be able to use the effect of Fatal Flare, which will bridge us into the rest of our Rokket engine. So this is kind of where everything starts to come together, where your Loader can get yourself the copy of the Odd Eyes, Pendulum stuff can bridge you into the Rokket stuff. So just really cool things right there, as we're now going to be able to go into our copy of the Dillinger and then activate the copy of the Boot Sector now that we have some extra space here. So we'll special summon out our 2 copies of the Rockets here, then go into our copy of Boral Breach, use the effect of Boral Breach, as we can also use the effect of Tracer in order to bring out our copy of Silver. We'll now add ourselves the copy of the triple Boral Launcher, just another extender that can actually help you play when you happen to use your normal summon as well. But we're going to continue here by using the effect of Dillinger in the graveyard, reviving it since we special summoned out the Silver, and now we'll be able to use the effect of the Boral Breach, chain the copy of the Silver, as we'll then be able to banish a card from our opponent's extra deck, special summon out the copy of Recharger, go into our Pisty, use the effect of Pisty, bring back the copy of the Tracer. We'll then be able to go into our Boral Land, we'll then synchro away into the Crimson King. We'll then use the effect of the Crimson King. The Crimson King brings a cool little engine here, as you're able to get into a Dispatter, and we also have the Dillinger banished already for it. So we're going to now go into our Dispatter. We'll get the effect of Vision Resonator. The important thing here is that it gets you a card that you can actually set for the Rainbow, but we're now going to activate the copy of the triple Boral Launch, as we'll put back the copy of Striker Dragon and bring out our copy of Detonator. We'll then be able to activate the copy of the Boral End, bring back the copy of Silver, then go into our IP Masquerena, we can then activate our copy of the Crimson Gaia, and we'll get ourselves the copy of the Royal Rumbling, which will give us the ability to pass on to our opponent with the copy of Dispatter. We also have the IP, which can go into SP, the Fancy Ball, or you can Fancy Ball into SP after using Masquerena. But then we also have the extra deck rip that we get from the Borland, as you'll see momentarily. We're going to use the effect of Silver, banish another card, and now our opponent has to play with what we have on board, a potential Floodgate as well. We have the Rumbling, which can bring back the copy of the Crimson King, and then the Crimson King can potentially banish itself, which we are playing the new Burning Soul as well, because it is a potential way to play around Nibiru. But with that, I'll take you on to the next one. So this next combo features what it looks like when you don't have Quick Launch and you just get the 2 Pendulum cards. So we're going to continue here by activating the copy of Odd Eyes. We're going to do a lot of the stuff that we pretty much ended up doing, getting our monkey board. We can then special summon out the copy of Astrograph, bring back the copy of the Odd Eyes, set a card, activate the copy of the monkey board. We'll then be able to add ourselves the copy of Rainbow. From here, we can then go into our copy of Masquerena. We'll then be able to pen summon for 2, as we'll then be able to fuse away into our copy of the Masquerena. So a couple of choke points right there. Spark on the Masquerena, maybe like the Imperm. If this doesn't tribute for cost, I actually don't remember. So no, it doesn't tribute for cost, so this can be hit with Imperm or something like that, but just important to point out, as we're now going to go into our Fatal Flare, use the effect of Fatal Flare, get ourselves the copy of Tracer. From here, we can then go into our Striker Dragon, use the effect of Striker Dragon to get our launch, activate the copy of Striker Dragon to get back our copy of Tracer, as we'll then be able to activate the copy of the Boot Sector launch and special summon out the copy of Tracer. The Tracer also gives us the ability to get that extra body, and this is where I say that you can play into Nib pretty hard if you don't start with your Rokket engine and you actually use your pen summon early. But we're now going to be able to use the effect of the Tracer, as we have the Dillinger on board, to go into our Silver. We can then go into the Breach Boral. We'll use the effect of Breach Boral to get the triple Boral launch, as we'll then be able to use the Breach Boral, target the Silver. The Silver will then trigger. We'll be able to banish a card from our opponent's extra deck, use the effect of Loader as we special summon it, as well as the Dillinger, get ourselves the copy of Abso Router. The funny thing about Abso Router here is that this deck doesn't really focus on sending it to the graveyard. It's really just a secondary search target, because your primary search target ends up being the Odd Eyes. But we're now going to special summon out our copy of the Abso. We're then going to go into our Pisty, bring back the copy of Tracer. From here, we'll then be able to go into our Boral End, activate the triple Boral launch, as we'll be able to get ourselves the copy of Recharger as we put back the Breach Boral. Something important to note, because with another Astrograph, you can go into it on the next turn, and it is a quick effect also, which is kind of cool. But we're now going to go into the Crimson King, as we're then going to be able to add ourselves the copy of Vision Resonator, special summon that out, as we're going to go into Dispatter, use the effect of the Vision, get ourselves Crimson Gaia, as now we can activate the copy of the Crimson Gaia. We'll get ourselves the copy of the Rumbling. From here, we'll then be able to activate the copy of Boral, bring back the copy of Tracer. From here, we'll then be able to link into the IP Masquerena, use the effect of Abso. With the Abso, we can add ourselves the copy of Detonator, which will then special summon so that we have that extra body for the Masquerena, as well as the copy of Borland. But now we can set the Rumbling and pass on to our opponent with all these interruptions on board, as well as the Rainbow and whatever else you have set. Now, for the final combo, I actually want to show what happens if you draw some of your one of quote-unquote bricks, but also I want to show what happens if you normal summon and you aren't able to normal summon your Rokket engine, and how you're still able to bridge and continue your plays from there. But we're going to activate the copy of Monkey Board, get ourselves the copy of Joker. From here, we'll then be able to normal summon the copy of Joker, use its effect in order to get ourselves the copy of Astrograph, activate the Odd Eyes. We'll then be able to use the effect of Odd Eyes in order to get ourselves the Rainbow this way, and then we'll be able to special summon out the copy of Astro in order to bring back the copy of Odd Eyes as well. We'll set a card, then activate the Rainbow, go into our copy of Masquerena. We'll then be able to pen summon back our monsters here, as we'll use the Astro effect to fuse. Fatal Flare, as we'll then use the effect of Fatal Flare to get us into our Detonator. And this is where everything starts, because now we can go into the Dillinger, special summon out the Detonator, and now we go into our Breach Boral this way. With the Breach Boral, we can get ourselves the copy of the triple Boral launch, which gets us access into Tracer, and Tracer gets us access into Striker Dragon, which means that we'll be able to have access into the Boot Sector launch. But we're also going to have an extra body via the Dillinger, and now we're going to go into our Striker Dragon, use the effect of Striker Dragon to get our Boot Sector launch, use the effect of the Striker Dragon to get back our copy of the Tracer. From here, we can then activate the copy of the Boot Sector launch, special summon out the copy of the Tracer, use the effect of the Tracer in order to get ourselves the copy of the Silver. We can then activate the Boral Breach, target the Silver, trigger the Silver, as we'll then be able to go banish our opponent's card from the extra deck, deck, bring out the copy of Loader. Loader can then get ourselves the ad for the Abso router, go into our Pisty, use the effect of Pisty in order to bring back one of our monsters, just showing that we can go into a Synchro 12 here for the new Crimson Dragon. But we're then going to go into our copy of the Borland, special summon out the copy of Abso, go into our Crimson King, use the effect of the Crimson King, grab our copy of the Vision. We'll then be able to special summon the Vision, go into our Dispatter. We'll then be able to use the effect of Vision for our copy of Rumbling. From here, we can then activate the copy of Boral so that we can get that extra body on board, as we're going to be able to go into the IP Masquerena, keeping the silver on board so that we can banish a card from our opponent's extra deck. We'll also be able to get the effect of the Abso, which gets us the Recharger, just for some extra protection. But we're now going to set the Rumbling. Just want to show that you can activate the Gaia or keep it set if you want here. But if you do activate it, you can get back the copy of the Crimson Resonator. And keep in mind that if we did start this turn without having to use the Joker normal summon, then you can actually normal summon this, go into the new Crimson Dragon, and the new Crimson Dragon would actually revive your Dispatter, giving you an extra monster negation. So with all of the combos out of the way, we can finally get onto the deck profile, and everything explained by this deck starts with Buster Blader Lock. This is how it really started. The idea initially was to try to search the copy of the Dragon Buster Destruction Sword, go into this, thinking I could somehow make Mud Dragon to fuse away with a potential dragon monster, seeing as this was a dragon. But the problem was that the best bridge that I kept finding was the Rokket stuff, and it does lock you into dark, so you can't really go into Buster Blader. So the next best thing became Dragoon, but then with Dragoon and the Mud Dragon, it meant that you were also playing the Gentrude alongside the Odd Eyes Synchron to turn this into a tuner, and it was just a lot of space. Then you'll also see the Pendulum stuff that I'm just not playing because of reasons that I stated earlier. The original Astrograph just doesn't mesh well with this deck either, since a lot of the times what you're destroying is this, and when you add another copy of it, it's just not really doing anything. I also would like to point out that your Fatal Flare can pop your stuff, like if you choose to play the Gentrude, or if you try to bridge away into Guiding Ariadne. Now that we have the new Solemn Report, you can potentially do that as well. But then I also tried the Wanted Azamina stuff. I didn't end up liking that as much just because of having to pitch a card. It didn't really feel good in this particular deck. But then the Magna Hut and the copy of the Harmonia I just dropped in here because you do play 5 synchros. You can potentially play another one if you want to take out something like the Abomination, and you can just play the IP, go into WP, go into SP. With all of that out of the way, I'm just going to get onto the card by card, as I've shown everything that I've wanted to. If I remember anything, mention it as I go on. But we have the 3 copies of the Odd Eyes, the 3 copies of the Astrograph, the 3 copies of Joker. We then have the 3 copies of Quick Launch, the 1 Called By, the 1 Cross Out, the 1 Talent, the 1 Rainbow, the 1 Monkey Board. We then have the Rumbling, the 1 Crimson Gaia, the Vision Resonator, Detonator, the Abso Router. We then have the Silver, the 1 copy of the Triple Boral Launch, the 1 copy of the Boot Sector. We then have the 1 Loader, the 1 Recharger, and the 1 Tracer. You could technically play more Rockets and even take out the Joker entirely, but I felt like having access into this more consistently was what the deck wanted to do, so that you can bridge into both easier. Then I would also like to go over these going second cards. I chose a bunch of trap cards because you want stuff to set for the Rainbow Magician, even if you end up not being able to use your quote-unquote hand traps with the Dominus cards. But we have the 3 Ash Blossom, the 3 Impulse, the 3 Spark, and the 3 Imperm to round out the main deck. Onto the extra deck, we have the copy of Borland, Abomination, the WP, IP, SP, Breach Boral, Dillinger, Pisty, Striker Dragon, the Crimson Dragon, the copy of the Burning Soul, which you can go as follow-up if you get nibbed. You can always banish this potentially Archfiend into the graveyard because the Tracer is a tuner. You can banish this alongside the copy of Vision Resonator and the Red Dragon Archfiend. Then Dispatter will actually also be able to revive the copy of Tracer if you do that as well, and if you have the Dispatter on board. But then we have the 1 copy of Fatal Flare to round out the deck profile. Anyways, if you made it this far into the video, I'd like to thank you so much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed. If you can leave a thumbs up, subscribe, and all that stuff for a small channel like mine, it would mean a whole lot. And I thank you guys for your time. It's Bones, signing out.